Happy May the 4th, which is also known as Star Wars Day. This project was a bit of a last-minute idea to add an N-scale land speeder to my model railroad. I found a land speeder model on Thingiverse. This model was designed to have the engines pinned to the body. I had to scale it down by a little less than 20% of the original model's size. After a couple of failed prints on my 3D resin printer, it finally printed everything. The parts are tiny. The land speeder body is only 21 millimeters long, which is less than an inch. I carefully cut it free from its supports and then sanded down the bottom to get it as flat as possible. I'm using my new 3D printed sanding block that I printed on my other printer, my FlashForge Adventure 5M. I put a bunch of hash marks on the bottom to ensure my sanding was even. I then removed the engines from the supports. After a bit more sanding, I glued the top engine onto the fin at the back of the speeder. And then the two side engines. Looks good, but geez is it small. I also printed out a model of R2-D2 and removed him carefully from the supports and cleaned him up. He's so small. And then I have his companion, C-3PO. Unfortunately, poor C-3PO lost his head when I removed him, so I had to glue his head back on. Actually, not his original head, but the head from his stunt double, as I lost his original head somewhere on the floor. Now with my trusty Japanese double-sided tape, I stuck all three onto a painting stick. I started off by painting the land speeder. I used brown rose from Vallejo, and it wasn't quite right, but you'll see later how I toned it down a bit, and I think the final color came out okay. I decided to brush paint it rather than using the airbrush. I have now some good paintbrushes, and Vallejo paint lays down quite well. But I didn't have any gold paint. Instead, I painted C-3PO with silver, and I hope I can use a yellow wash to make it look like gold. So that's what I'm doing here, making a yellow wash. Except I put a bit too much water in it, so it's a bit too diluted. Time to let that dry and add some more coats later. R2-D2 was next, and after giving him a base coat of white, I used my new gel marker to give him his characteristic blue markings. I used my chrome marker for the top of his head. I then went back to the speeder and painted the interior brown. I had to do a bit of touch-up with the body color. The side stainless body panels were next, which I painted silver. This was difficult. Again, it wasn't perfect, so I had to touch up with more body color. I then added some dark gray to the intake and exhaust ports on all three engines. And I used that gray for the side panels just in front of the side engines. The final detail is the windshield. I had separated it from the body and then printed it separately. I'm not going to use this part as is. It's only going to serve as a template for cutting an identical piece from thin overhead transparency sheet. I taped it on with my double-sided tape and then carefully cut it out. I tried gluing it in place flat and then curving it to glue the ends, but that didn't seem to work. So instead I wrapped it around a dowel, fastening it with tape, and then used my hairdryer to heat up the plastic so it would be curved. Much better. And an easy part to lose considering it's transparent. There it is. Let's try gluing it again. That's better, although it did take a few tries. Again, some more touch-ups as I had scraped off paint to allow the glue to stick better. Now to make the land speeder hover in midair. I scraped off some paint on the bottom and glued on short pieces of fishing line and then snipped these off short, approximately 1 scale meter, as that's the height it hovers at. Then I cut out another piece of the transparency sheet as a base. The ends of the fishing line stubs were then glued to the sheet. And it hovers. Now to tone down that paint with some raw umber pan pastel. I just applied it with an old brush. It did a really good job of weathering the speeder. One more attempt with a stronger yellow wash to get C-3PO more goldish in color. It's not perfect, but it will have to do until I can get some gold paint or a gold paint marker. When I removed R2-D2 from the painting stick, I unfortunately broke off his one leg, so I had to glue that back on. Now to get the 3 placed on my layout. The speeder gets parked here behind a dusty green Porsche. You can see it hovering in midair. And then R2. Oops, let's try that again. And his companion. Since C-3PO can't stand by himself on his thin legs, I added a wax adhesive to the soles of his feet. This will allow me to move him later. So there you have it, an interesting scene to celebrate Star Wars Day. Thanks for watching, and may the 4th be with you.